This is episode 62 of the Illinois Nutrient Loss Reduction Podcast, ISAP, Soil Health Leadership Program. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason. Coming up, we'll talk about the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership and its relationship to the Soil Health Leadership Program. First, we'll explore the partnership, then discuss the program, and finally, hear from somebody who's experienced the Soil Health Leadership Program. We'll start with Helen Van Beck. She's the Midwest Program Manager for the American Farmland Trust. I asked her to tell us about herself, her role, and what she does with the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership.
Sure. So my name's Helen Van Beck. I'm a Program Manager on American Farmland Trust's Midwest team. And part of that is serving as the manager of the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership. And so that's one of my programs. I spend quite a bit of time on it. And yeah, I mostly am providing programmatic support, administrative support, keeping all of our programs kind of in line, doing a lot of member engagement. So making sure that our members are actively participating and engaged in our programs, and that they are getting, the benefits of the partnership that they would like to get, and having their priorities sort of elevated through our collaborative partnerships. But like most conservation work, it's wearing a lot of different hats. So sometimes I'm helping develop resources, farmer-facing resources. Sometimes it's communications through our newsletter and website, facilitating our program meetings and our partnership meetings. So it's a little bit of a lot of things with ISAP.
What are the origins of the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership, the way it was developed, some of its objectives?
Yeah, so we are now a nonprofit organization with 15 members who are all working in Illinois. But the group really developed in 2017 through sort of memorandums of understanding, and they came about in response to the establishment of the nutrient loss reduction strategy in 2015. And, it sort of came from conversations that some of our member organizations were having at the time around, how Illinois as a state and Illinois agriculture specifically was going to address was going to meet some of the goals that were established in the strategy. And so today, since then, the partnership has grown. We've added new members. We filed as a 501c3 nonprofit last year in 2023. But we still are using the goals that are established in the nutrient loss reduction strategy as kind of the North Star of the organization. And we've sort of taken on a train the trainer model, understanding that we're going to need a lot of people across the state, farmers and their advisors, who are well equipped to implement these conservation practices that are suggested in the strategy, and also to help their neighbors, their customers, other farmers that they're working with, to also adopt some of these practices.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the stakeholders in the partnership, the benefits of collaborating?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we've got 15 members, and it's sort of a good mix across types of entities. So, I mentioned that I'm employed by American Farmland Trust. We're a strong and leading member in the group, and we're definitely more of a conservation ag entity. The Nature Conservancy is another group that kind of falls into that category. And then we've got some commodity groups. So a really strong leader is the Illinois Soybean Association. They're provide a lot of generous support to our programs, both with their staff and financially. We also have educational entities involved. So the Illinois Central College is a partner, University of Illinois. And then, we've got some groups that have a lot of on-the-ground support, so extension, and that allows us to work with extension agents across the state, as well as the Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. So the same thing there. And, I think just recognition of all of our 15 individual members have their specific priorities for their organizations, and they have unique connections with farmers. And so, some of us across the partnership are working with sort of a different subset of farmers. But there's really value in the partnership coming together and agreeing on a unified message for how we talk about these practices and how we talk about the benefits, both environmentally and economically, and have that unified message that's being spread, to farmers across the state. I think that is one of the strongest benefits of collaborating through ISAP.
What are the challenges that farmers face when they're transitioning to these more sustainable practices?
Yeah, so we've collected a lot of information about this, right? Because we're all trying to crack this nut of what is it going to take to get adoption. And one of the things that ISAP has really focused on is kind of this information gap. So, when we're talking with farmers, we're doing a lot of education around the benefits of the practices. But then, once someone has decided, sure, yeah, okay, I'll plant some cover crops. Where do I get seed from? Just having some of this information really easily accessible for them. So, a couple of things that we've put together over the past couple of years, we put together a directory of cover crop service providers, and that includes seed dealers as well as applicators and a variety of different services that are offered to farmers. We've also put together several financial incentive directories. So again, just trying to make it really easy and clear for farmers to see where they can get paid to implement these practices. So we have a cover crop incentive directory. We have an incentive directory for edge of field practices. We put together an overview of carbon market opportunities for farmers, and really just trying to help connect farmers to the information really easily. And, a lot of times I think that farmers, it's hard in that space specifically where it feels like people are trying to sell you something. And so ISAP has really tried to be kind of that independent third party, just sharing information. And then another thing that we know is that, farmers want to hear from other farmers that these practices are working. And that's really a trusted source of information. So ISAP has tried to uplift successful stories of farmers who are implementing these practices. So whether that's including farmer voices in our trainings and in our workshops and our webinars, but also putting together farmer profiles to share their stories a little bit further out. And one of the things that we've also put together is our conservation story map, which includes pins across the state of farmers, service providers, people who've gone through ISAP's training programs, as well as demonstration sites where some of these practices can be seen. And that's just another way to connect people to local sources of information about these practices.
Where can people go that they might find this information?
So we've got a website. It's ilsustainableag.org, and you can learn more about our programs there. We also have a resource library that we keep updated. We have an events calendar, so you can find a workshop near or field day near you or an upcoming webinar. We have a career page where people can stay up to date if they're looking for jobs in the conservation ag space. And then we also put out a monthly newsletter called The Aggregate, and you can sign up for the newsletter on our website. And that's where we send out sort of a recap every month of articles and other resources, as well as some of those upcoming events and job opportunities. So that's the best way to stay up to date as we're rolling out new projects and new resources for farmers. That's really where the best way to stay up to date with them.
Are there any other things that you want to highlight as it's related to ISAP and some of the resources or projects?
Sure. So I mentioned our incentive directories. We also host a monthly webinar focused on cover crop topics under the Illinois Cover Crop on Farm Network. So that's a great way to get more information about cover crops and sort of connect with other people in Illinois and across the Midwest who are working on that. And then also, kind of a highlight of ISAP's programming is the Soil Health Leadership Program, previously titled the Advanced Soil Health Training. ISAP has held 5 cohorts of the training up to now. So we've trained over 100 farmers and their advisors on soil health topics, and we're really excited to be launching this next cohort this fall.
What's the application deadline for the fall program?
Sure. So the application is available on our website, ilsustainableag.org/SHLP for Soil Health Leadership Program. And the application is open until May 31st, and applicants can expect to hear back sometime by late June.
Again, the application for the Soil Health Leadership Program is available on the ISAP, or Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership Program. We've been talking with Helen Van Beck of the American Farmland Trust. Now let's turn our attention to Megan Baskerville. She's with the Nature Conservancy and has more about the Soil Health Leadership Program. And of course, I asked her too to tell us about her role in the Nature Conservancy.
Yeah, Megan Baskerville. I'm the Illinois Ag Program Director for the Nature Conservancy, and we are a worldwide nonprofit that focuses on conservation. We've started as a land trust, but we also work in the working land space as well. In Illinois, TNC joined ISAP kind of from the start back in 2017, and we've been a member of the Sustainable Ag Partnership since then. I currently serve as ISAP's Vice President, and we're excited about pushing out this Soil Health Leadership Program.
Tell me about the program itself and some of its specific goals, objectives, those sorts of things.
The Soil Health Leadership Program is a 6-part training that takes place over 18 months across Illinois, guiding participants on the science and principles of soil health, right alongside that kind of practical production management changes that are needed to maximize the on-farm benefits of these systems. The training was really designed for people that are already in the field advising on row crops in Illinois or managing row crops themselves.
Can you tell me about a transition that took place? Because the Soil Health Leadership Program at one point was the Advanced Soil Health Training Program. What was that transition like and what's changed?
Yeah, so a lot of people might be more familiar with it under that moniker, Advanced Soil Health Training. ISAP has been running this training since back in 2018. I was actually a participant way back when in the first cohort. But this name change is really just a name change. The program content and the structure has not changed. We just thought the name change underlines the anticipation that participants take what they learn back out to their community. We think of this program as almost a train the trainer, where these participants are learning a lot about the principles of soil health and how to implement them successfully, but we can't get everyone in Illinois through this type of a program, so we're really hoping they bring this information back to their clients and their community where they're from.
In what ways can the individuals implement what they've learned to the community?
Yeah, so we have an application process, and in that application, we do ask potential participants what their, what their impact might be. We might ask how many acres are they currently advising on. One of the easiest ways to implement the lessons learned is through guiding clients or themselves through a transition, adding one or multiple of the practices that might help increase soil health on the farm. So direct implementation through advising is definitely a possibility. And another is if they have a platform to share resources. Maybe they're on a soil and water or Farm Bureau board that they can have an impact in setting up educational programs. Or if they have a farm, are they willing to invite people onto that farm and see the practices for themselves? So how they get that information back out, there can be lots of different varied ways, and hopefully something comes up where, again, that information kind of goes beyond them at the end of the training.
To date, are these individuals mostly that are already involved organizational, meaning they belong to an organization directly and are hired by them, or are they individuals and farmers and other business people?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the big tenets of the program is that the participants are learning from themselves as well, and it's slightly interdisciplinary. So our hope is that we have a equal smattering of participants. A third are crop advisors, either independent agronomists or working through a retailer. A third are conservation staff, so perhaps they're working at a soil and water district or some other entity that's still advising growers. And then a third farmers, so growers themselves that are implementing these practices. So our hope is if they are employed by somebody that they get that sign off from their employer to be participating, because it is a longer program. Again, it's 6 two-day trainings over 18 months, so it definitely takes up some time. So we want buy-in from their employers that they can be there and they don't feel like they're, having to be separated or at 2 different spots at one time. They can really focus on the training.
Farmers who are interested will want to know if these trainings take place during the growing season, and if so, if they coincide with the time that they really want to be in the field.
Right, great point. So we're doing our best to get the dates of the program out in front, so when people apply, they can see exactly what times we're discussing. So we're trying to avoid those really busy times for the farmers and the crop advisors and conservation staff that might be involved. The current potential dates for the 2024-2025 training are up on the kind of application landing page on ISAP's website, ilsustainableag.org/SHLP. But right now we have some in August, November, early March pre-planting, midsummer, and then winter. So really avoiding April, May's, September, October's.
You've mentioned this already and just now, but how do individuals apply for the program?
Mm-hmm. So we have an application form that's open now through May 31st, and that can be accessed through ISAP's website, which is ilsustainableag.org. I'm pretty sure right on the home page, kind of the very first thing you'll see is to apply for ISAP's Soil Health Leadership Program. On that page, you'll learn a little bit more about the program, again, when those 6 trainings are scheduled to take place. You'll see some quotes from previous graduates just to see what their experience was. And then that is where there's an online application form. It's maybe 10 to 12 questions that would be submitted. And then we hope to notify successful applicants that they're in the program by June, which it would then start in August.
So that's the second time we've heard how to apply for the Soil Health Leadership Program. And as we were wrapping that up, Megan Baskerville told us that there was a transition from the Advanced Soil Health Training Program to the Soil Health Leadership Program. One of the people who's gone through the advanced training is Brandon Hall. He's a location operations manager for West Central FS out of Watauga, Illinois. I asked him to tell us about his experience.
Yeah, so I had went to a few cover crop meetings in relation to my role at Knox County Farm Bureau Young Leaders as the chair of that nutrient stewardship grant process. So I went to some meetings and was told about the application process, and then was contacted and like it was a really great fit for me as an ag retailer trying to learn more about and trying to bring that to the table for my growers.
You talked a little bit about this, but what is it that motivated you to join?
Yeah, I guess for me, well, first and foremost, I'm kind of a soil nerd. So when it came anything to do with educating myself sharpening the blade. As an agronomist in the soils world, it's fun for me. So soil health and soil sustainability has been a hot topic in agriculture for quite some time, and I kind of wanted to be at the leading edge of this new world of sustainability. So as I was approached, it was really a no-brainer. It was just another way for me to educate myself and get more prepared for questions that were going to be coming down the pipe from my growers, especially when we're talking about carbon credits and we're talking about soil health, soil tilth, and then cover cropping as a whole. So, and guys, farmers changing their management systems to adapt to some of these new technologies. So I just felt like it was my responsibility as a certified crop advisor, as a partner for my growers in my community, to be able for them to have somebody that they could come to that had taken a course that had given me the experience to give educated information from across the state of Illinois.
When you think about the training itself, are there sessions that stood out more than others as they relate to things that you're able to pass on to producers?
So I would say just as a whole, there wasn't one session that I didn't make. Obviously, that was a challenge in itself. Sometimes I think people are, in agriculture, are busy people, and it's hard to fit in your schedule to make all of the trainings. But each one was well worth its time. So that, part of them are a one-day session. You go out to the field, and then the next day you'd be in the classroom, or vice versa. But each one in itself had value. I think beginning with just basic soil information, the basics of stuff that I learned when I was in college, just to reiterate that information and relearn some of the stuff that maybe I'm not using currently in my role that now is coming back, or the values of going to on-site trainings where growers that are what I would say are experienced and advanced in this system, in this cropping system, this cover cropping system, they are giving us firsthand information, the do's and the don'ts on their farm, using their farms as an example, and how they've made it work for their system. So I don't think there's one that really stands out, because they all have value in their own ways.
Have you started to use what you've learned through your operations there at West Central FS?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I've said a couple times in after I got the certificate and I hung up in my office, I've had a few people ask me what that was about, and then there was an article put out about the next round of this training, and what I've told them is it has given me the confidence. This training has given me the confidence to be able to have these tough conversations about management practices. If you have guys who have been doing the same thing over and over and over again, for the same thing that Grandpa did and then Dad did, now we've got my generation coming in farming. That it's a tillage system that they're using. Now having some conversations wrapped around soil health and cover cropping and maybe some no-till systems or reduced tillage systems. And sometimes those become a tough conversation. And so just because that's what they know and that's what they've always done, and it's always provided for them, it's given me the confidence to start having those conversations and move into their operation, and also tying that into the cover in Knox County, validating that we are doing good things, and give me some experience to then look at some data that we're collecting through that project, and then use that on-farm trialing system to then give examples for growers in our community. And then also tying that in education. I have a lot of opportunities where I work with the community, whether that's FFA or 4-H or even some community college Black Hawk East, I can give students education on what soil health is and how that's an important part of the future of agriculture here in West Central Illinois.
That's Brandon Hall from Watauga, Illinois. He's a location operations manager at West Central FS and had participated in the predecessor to the current Soil Health Leadership Program. If you'd like to apply for that program, you can do so. The deadline is May the 31st. Visit the Illinois Sustainable Ag Partnership website. That's ilsustainableag.org. And you'll find an application link for the Soil Health Leadership Program on the home page. You've been listening to the Illinois Nutrient Loss Reduction Strategy Podcast. It's produced in concert with Extension's Rachel Curry and Nicole Haverback. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason.